Democratic Congressman Raúl Grijalva joins me now from Capitol Hill. He represents Arizona's 3rd District, which includes a majority of the state's shared border with Mexico. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. You know, President Trump says that he's doing tonight's speech to talk about, quote, the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border. Do you believe there's a crisis at the border?
Yeah, it's no coincidence that all the elected officials, including Republican colleagues, have opposed this wall, opposed the intervention that that Trump is talking about, and all state that this is a manufactured crisis and a crisis that manufactured by the Trump administration. So now we find him giving a speech today that is self-fulfilling. It's look how terrible things are. This is what I have to do. And I think all of this is unnecessary. And if there is a crisis on the border, it is one of confidence that this country can do anything, that can do anything to find a solution. And more importantly, it's a crisis of for the economy and the well-being of that border region as a whole. It is a terrible, terrible mistake that Trump is making, insisting on a wall that Mexico will not pay for, and that the Democrats at this point are not going to fund.
Mexico, you says, will not pay for it. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she would give the president a single dollar for a border wall. Is there any amount of funding that you would support?
Well, the funding has been there. There's been discussion about funding that deals with security issues without interjecting the idea of a political promise, which is the wall. Everybody agrees security is critical. We know it's important. We're aware of the organized crime on both sides of the border that use that as their passage point for drugs, weapons, etc., and human smuggling. So yeah, it has to. That's an issue. But this wall, this fantasy, this political promise that it was inane when he made it, and it continues to be inane, is not the solution. It doesn't even approach a solution.
You know, there's a shutdown in Washington. How do you approach fixing the solution? You know very well about the border wall and the situation at the border. What's your solution, sir, to fix this?
I think the approach has to be comprehensive. I think we need to put energy, time, and resources into our ports of entry, where 60% of all apprehensions and confiscating of illegal substances is made, and also promotes the ebb and flow of commerce, trade, and visitation. That's where both the security and economic question lie, and we are ignoring that. We're ignoring fully funding customs and the personnel that's needed there. And then I think you have to understand that this crisis, whether it was the children's separation, whether it is the horrible conditions that are going on in detention, the for-profit centers, whether it is the misguided wall comments that the president make, is all to try to satisfy 25% of the American public that wants this wall. I think he is wrong politically, and in terms of in terms of security, absolutely wrong.
Well, the president will have the spotlight this afternoon, and then shortly after this evening, and then after that, Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer will also then have a chance to speak after the president tonight. Are they the right people to come forward and push forward the Democratic response?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think we have to stay that we're solution focused, and that there are solutions to the border, and that we need to explore them. We need to have a debate on this issue with the same set of facts, not manufactured facts that Trump is going to present tonight. And whether or not he declares it an emergency, it is something that I know his advisors, Miller, the most prominent, are encouraging to do, to declare a state of emergency, which is both illegal and devastating to the district that I represent.
Back in August, you had actually called for the resignation of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. Do you still believe that to be the case? And if so, what are the grounds that you say she's unfit for this job?
I think the data that has been presented and what the litany of things that he's going to read tonight are one misstatement, one lie after another. The situation on the border requires our attention. There's an urgency to it. People need to feel secure. But what he is going about in demonizing the whole region, demonizing people, using bigotry, and using a phony promise of wall is not the solution. And I hope that Nielsen realizes that, and the American public continues to support something rational and sane.
Congressman, while I have you here, I know you just took over as chair of the House Natural Resources Committee. Several of your Democratic colleagues have called for a Green New Deal to reshape the U.S. economy. It'll be around clean jobs. Is that something you would support?
Yes, it does. I think that the transition is more than, we started a transition to look toward the future, to deal with the very real issue of climate change. That was abandoned by the Trump administration 2 years ago. We need to get back to dealing with long-term solutions, and that includes the promoting of a green economy, less carbon emissions into our atmosphere, and coming and using science and fact as the basis for our decision making. I hope we can take those steps this year.
Are you confident you'd have Republican support for those initiatives?
Well, I think at this point it's the House has to do its business, and then if it goes to the Senate, then the Senate will have to do what they need to do. But from the House perspective, I think we need to set a template for the American people that we're not going to idly sit by, that we're going to take action, and it's going to be bold, and it's going to be necessary action. And if the president doesn't want to sign legislation or the Senate refuses to act on it, it's to their own consequences that they do that, because I think the American public is behind us.
Arizona Democratic Congressman Raúl Grijalva, thank you very much, Congressman, for joining us.
Thank you, Ina. Appreciate it.